Welcome to the real reason your Shopify isn't making real money and what successful stores are doing differently. So, here's what you're going to learn in this class. By the end of this webinar, you'll know why it feels like you're making sales everywhere except your Shopify store, the difference between renting customers and actually owning them, and the systems you need to make your store work 24/7. So, first things first, my name is Jance, and I've been in sales for the last 18 years. I spent 11 years working in retail sales, in the mall, in outlet stores, all the things. And I like to say that I pretty much lived in a store for the bulk of my life. From the time I was 17 and old enough to get a job, I was at the mall. I worked at Forever 21, Abercrombie, some of the stores that are listed here: DKNY, Saks Fifth Avenue, Michael Kors, Toys R Us, Bed Bath and Beyond, so many different places. I've sold everything under the sun, and I always say that there's nothing that you sell that I can't help you sell. For the last 7 years, however, I have been in e-commerce. I own my own online boutique called Brazen. In the course of my retail experience, I worked for over 20 retail stores, which sounds crazy. To put this simply, I always had two jobs at one time because I loved getting an employee discount and I also loved making extra money. My Shopify store hit $1 million in just 3.5 years on Shopify. Here's a little screenshot. I hit it on February 10th, 2023. And since then, I've coached over 1,700 students inside of my program. So to put this simply, I know what it takes to sell both in person and online, and I'm here today to show you why they are not the same and the work that is different amongst the two. So I want you to know that I have been where you may be right now. 7 years ago, I was living with my mom. Then I moved in with my sister. I wasn't making enough money to take care of myself. I wasn't making enough money to have, an apartment of my own. My credit was bad. My last two jobs went out of business. I had no money, no backup plan, and no choice but to make this work or get another job. And so I took a leap of faith. I literally did not get another job after losing my last one. And I said, hey, I'm going to do this. And I have been in full-time entrepreneurship ever since. So you're making sales likely, but just not where it counts. You're maybe still accepting Cash App payments or Zelle or Venmo. You're making sales through Etsy, TikTok Shop. You're doing pop-ups and festivals and things like that. Your friends and family are supporting you. So you are in fact making some money, but your Shopify store is not working in the way that you want it to. You got it built, maybe you built it yourself or hired somebody to do it for you, but it's just not producing what you thought that it would produce. And so today you're going to learn exactly why that is. So this webinar is for you if you're making sales everywhere except your online store, if you feel like you're making sales everywhere except your online store, if you're tired of doing all the work manually, and if you're ready to build systems that work while you sleep. So if that is you, I want you to keep watching because we have a lot to cover, but this is going to be for you. So for a lot of people that I work with, what I find to be true is that they are renting customers, but they need to own them. And so what I mean by that is you're selling on platforms where you don't actually, in fact, own your customer base, or you don't own your customer data. So for example, when you sell on platforms like Etsy, TikTok, Amazon, the platform owns the customer. So they use the data of what people bought from you to help other brands make money. They will use your customer history and your sales history to help another brand grow. They will literally start showing another brand's products to your customers, which in my opinion, I don't want that to happen. I want my customers to be my customers. When you take Cash App payments, for example, there is no email, there's no automated follow-up, there is no data. Cash App cannot tell you how many dresses you sold or how many matching sets you sold or how many cherry lip glosses you sold. It has no idea. It just knows how much money you collected. When you sell at pop-up shops, the event organizer often brings the traffic. I always think about events that publicize the event on like Eventbrite and things like that, and people RSVP. Well, they own that customer data and you don't. And then lastly, when you sell to friends and family, that is not true customer acquisition. It is typically 9 times out of 10 just them wanting to support you, which is great, but you didn't start a business for your friends and family to be the only people supporting your brand. And so in my experience working with online store owners, I find that they fall into either of these three categories, and you may live in one right now, but you progress into the one that you want to actually be in. And so group number one are the unicorns. These are the people that everybody looks up to. They're the people who are making consistent sales. It looks like they have it all figured out. Their content looks good. They're going viral, or they're getting constant engagement. It looks like their systems are working, and ultimately you can't wait to become them. But what I want you to know is that these people are outliers. They are literally unicorns. They are not the norm. And you're going to do yourself a disservice waiting for your opportunity to become a unicorn. You will be much better off becoming a student, okay? So the students are the people who are not necessarily guessing anymore. They have access to knowledge or new skills or a coach or a consultant of some sort. Somebody is in their corner or in their ear giving them some guidance. These are people who are starting to know their numbers. They're starting to understand how to read their data. Generally speaking, analytics means something to them at this point. They have built some systems. Maybe you have your email automation set up. Maybe you've tackled ads once or twice. You're just generally actively learning and implementing, and you're ultimately on your way to becoming a Group 1 citizen. Group 3 is where the majority of people live, and this is just, quite frankly, they're stuck. This is where most people stay, if I'm being honest. And what I find to be true is that if you're in that bucket, it's not your fault. You simply don't know what you don't know, and I'm proud of you for being here today, because I'm going to help you know what you should know. So there are 3 levels of collecting revenue as it pertains to selling products. Level 1 is renting those customers. So you don't actually, in fact, have to have your Shopify store. As you know, you can just participate in pop-up shops. You can just sell on Etsy. You can just sell on TikTok Shop. You can just sell on Amazon, so on and so forth. But when you do that, someone else owns the traffic and the data, and they also have a level of control over your business where they could shut it down at any moment, and you're left with nothing but your products, but no customers to continue to sell to. And so because of this, your revenue is technically speaking capped based on the platforms that you don't own. Level 2 is opening your own brick and mortar store. I've worked with a good number of people who own a store. Some of them last, some of them absolutely hate it because of the overhead and the bills that are attached to it. But at this stage, you own some of your data, but you're often limited to geography. You're limited to the people who can actually come and visit you in a store. And that's the same for pop-up shops as well. If you're participating in local pop-up shops, you're still limited to people who are capable of traveling to wherever you're presenting your products that weekend, right? You're also limited to the hours that your store is open, and then also that overhead, the rent, the utilities, the payroll, so on and so forth. So your expenses are typically a lot higher than they have to be when you have a brick and mortar store. And then level 3 is owning your own platform, which is why we're here today, because I want you to learn how to get to a place where you're not being held hostage to another platform and ultimately the overhead that comes with a brick and mortar store. So owning your own platform is an e-commerce brand that has its own systems. There is no geographic limits. You can sell to people near and far. There is no rent, and you can scale this infinitely as long as you have the inventory to support the demand, supply and demand at the end of the day. So most of you listening may be stuck at level 1 or level 2, but today I want to show you how to get to level 3. So level 3, in my opinion, is the hardest, but also the most rewarding. At level 1, you're doing just one job. Level 1 and 2, you're doing one job. You're just selling to warm bodies, people who were already there. So we go onto Amazon, and Amazon is like, here are all these different products you may like from a bunch of different brands. You're a warm body, and you're hoping that you reap the benefits of that. When you sell, let's say you open up space in the mall or in a little center in your downtown area, right? Most of the time, the people that are coming to you, they just so happen to be passing by, or somebody recommended your store to them, or things of that nature. It's a warm body a lot of the times. But at level 3, you're doing like 5 or more jobs. And this is honestly the mindset shift, or where your mind starts to shift when you just simply understand the jobs that you are supposed to be doing in the first place. So when you own your own platform, you're responsible for driving the traffic to it, designing the destination, so your website, merchandising that store so that it converts, actually closing the sale, so not just leaving people who abandoned their cart or initiated checkout but didn't finish the purchase, but actually following up, and ultimately working to retain those people. So you don't want anybody to be a one-time customer. You want people who continue to come back and spend their money with you. So before I was a business coach or a boutique owner, as I mentioned, I worked in retail for 11 years. Here are some pictures of various points in my life early on, my 20s. And I worked in a bajillion different positions in a retail store. So sales associate, sales manager. When I worked at Saks Fifth Avenue, we were called sales advisors. I was also a visual merchandising manager. Eventually, I became a store manager. Every single role taught me something critical about sales. And most of my positions had the word sales in it, right? But here's the problem. All of those roles, out of all of them, none of them had anything to do with marketing. I never had a job that was marketing, ever. I didn't create any ads. I did not create any content. I did not create any emails. I did not create any commercials. I did not choose any influencers. My job was not to get people in the door. My job was to get them out the door. My job was to make sure that every person who came through the door found the products that they were looking for, bought more than the products that they were looking for, spent the amount of money that the store wanted to make per transaction, bought the number of units that the store wanted to have per transaction. My job was to get someone to make a decision and walk out the door as a customer. And so that is what sales is all about. The problem for most people, however, though, is that they don't know the difference between marketing and sales, and they don't know that these are two different departments of their business, and you have to basically bounce in and out of both of them all day long. So the marketing department would be the people who are creating the ads, the content, the emails, a commercial, a window display, influencers, things of that nature. They're getting people in the door. They're helping people to become aware of the brand and interested in the brand, but they are not the people who are selling the products. The sales department, the people who work the sales floor, those are the people who are actually getting people to pull out their wallet and spend cash. So these are the people who are greeting the customer, making product suggestions, answering questions about the products that people are looking at, upselling at the register, encouraging them to buy more than what they were already about to buy, offering a discount or a limited time offer if they think that that's what it's going to take to get the purchase. These are the people who are in charge of getting people out with a purchase. So these are two different sides of your brain at the end of the day. And when you don't know or have experience in both of them, it's very easy for you to struggle. And so the problem for most people is that, again, these are separate departments. In a retail corporation, the marketing people don't work the sales floor. I never met anybody that worked in marketing the whole time I worked in retail. 11 years. I never met anybody that worked in marketing. They just handed marketing materials down to the store. They told us what little stickers needs to get put in the windows. They told us what signage needs to get put on the tables and at the register. They were in charge of what people saw and what got people in the door. That's it. But salespeople, we didn't create anything. Our job was not to touch Canva or Klaviyo or Shopify or an ads manager. Our job is to get people to buy things. The problem, though, is that as an online business owner, you are both of those departments. And often without knowing which hat you're wearing. That is what's typically happening. So you're posting, but you don't know if you're posting as a component of marketing, or you may confuse posting with selling. And that's ultimately why most people stay stuck. So here's just a quick rundown of marketing things versus sales things. Marketing is going to drive awareness, create traffic, and ultimately just get them there. Sales is going to convert that interest. So that means interest has to already have been created. Sales is going to create transactions, so meaning people who actually make it to the checkout. Even if they don't check out, sales got them to the checkout. And ultimately, it's sales' job to convert them. So that means following up. Your job as a salesperson within your business is to get people to buy. But you can't get people to buy if you don't master driving awareness, creating traffic, and getting them to the actual store. Your Shopify is the store. Everything on your website is tied to sales. If you can't get people to the store, that tells you everything that you need to know about your marketing, not your sales. So if you're telling yourself, I have a sales problem or my sales are so low, you have to look at how much traffic are you getting to your store. Because if you're not getting any traffic or getting very low amounts of traffic to your store, you have a marketing problem. So both marketing and sales are both required. One without the other simply does not work ever. So I want to do a very quick pop quiz. This is the quiz that I gave my students inside my program. About a month ago, we did a 2-day marketing and sales boot camp. We spent about 8 hours together, which was crazy. And we started day 2 with this little exercise. So I'm going to do a couple of these with you guys and just think for a second about your answer. And I'm going to give you the answer in about 4 slides, okay? So I want you to think to yourself, is this marketing or is this sales? The first being posting a reel on Instagram showing your new arrivals. So I want you to think about both the action and also what you're showcasing in the piece of content and ask yourself, is this marketing or is this sales? Is this me creating interest or is this me creating a transaction? That's the simplest way to answer this question, okay? So think that through. The second one is customer reviews displayed on your product pages. Is this marketing or is this sales? Is it creating interest or is it creating a transaction? Number 3, a post-purchase email saying complete the look. Is this creating interest or is this creating a transaction? And again, just think about that little statement that I'm saying over and over again. Is this creating interest or is it creating a transaction? If you can just master asking yourself that question every single time you take an action, you will get better at marketing and sales because you're now getting to a place where you actually understand. The last one is an influencer posting about your brand. Is that creating interest or is that creating transactions? Now, you might be thinking about these like maybe a little hard. I hope that you're really thinking about them. And you might be struggling. You might be like, well, I think it's to get a sale at the end of the day. And here's the thing. Everything that you do in your business is for the purpose of eventually getting a sale. But some things happen before you can say, okay, now I am selling you something. Okay, so let me give you the answers here. So posting a reel on Instagram showing your new arrivals is marketing. If you are showcasing a product to someone for the very first time, you have to create interest. I don't even know. This is my first time seeing this. You are creating the awareness, number 1. And secondly, you're hoping that awareness turns into interest. But it does not guarantee that it gets you website traffic. And remember, if you're not getting the traffic, then you can't say that sales is your focus at the end of the day. So that is marketing. Customer reviews displayed on your product pages is sales. Why? Because it's on your website. And more importantly, it's on a product page. Anything on your product page should be for the purpose of getting someone to add a product to their cart. That is for sales. A post-purchase email saying complete the look is sales. Now, although you are sending an email, the intent or the stage within the buyer's journey is what makes this sales, because this email is going to someone who has already made a purchase. So they're already in a sales environment. You're saying, hey, you purchased something already. Here's something else that may complement what you've already purchased. You're basically building on or compounding up on already existing purchase behavior. The last one, influencer posting about your brand. This is marketing. So again, very similar to you posting a reel on Instagram. Doesn't matter if you posted it or a brand ambassador posted it. It's a post on social media. And social media is nothing more than a marketing channel. So everything that happens on social media is marketing at the end of the day. All right, so I hope you guys like that little activity. So you may think that your problem is, I need more followers, I need to post more, I need better photos, I need more money to spend on ads. But again, I've worked with a lot of people and I can tell you these are what might truly be the problems. So attraction, you're posting without visibility strategy or marketing goals. You don't even know why you're posting. You're just hoping that the post translates to a purchase. Conversion, your store isn't actually set up to sell. Your product pages are weak. Your product pages don't have any upsells. Your checkout is confusing or missing payment options. And then retention, you have no systems to bring buyers back, no email automations, no post-purchase follow-ups, no loyalty loops. All of those things are imperative to not only, keeping your business going, but increasing your profit at the end of the day, because someone who has already purchased from you before is significantly more likely to purchase from you again, but only if you follow up with them. So you need more than just better content. You actually need a system. And I know system is one of those buzzwords that gets thrown around on the internet these days. especially because of ChatGPT. But just so that you're clear, a system is nothing more than a process, something that you do step by step and it's repeatable. Okay, so let's simplify this so you know what your jobs online are. Owning your platform really comes down to three things: attraction, conversion, and retention. But the most important component here is that if one of these is weak, your revenue is going to stall. It's going to stop. So if you're not constantly attracting new people to your brand, or if you don't have something or someone, an influencer, a brand ambassador, an affiliate, or a group of affiliates who are constantly attracting new people, your revenue is going to stall. Think about how TikTok, everybody is an affiliate at this point. Everybody is promoting products on a brand's behalf. And guess what that does? It creates attraction, which makes it significantly easier for the brand to convert those people. So again, you need strategy for attraction as well as conversion as well as retention. Now we're going to go through each one of these one by one because they're really important. And again, if you don't master each one of them, you're setting yourself up for failure. And ultimately, it's going to be a huge component as to why your traffic is not coming to your store the way that you want, and ultimately the sales. So attraction is all about getting people in the door. So I want you to imagine that you have a kiosk in the mall or even your own store. I don't go to the mall often, but I remember working in the mall and how many different kiosks there were, like basically in the little walkway space between stores, right? And so there would typically be somebody standing at that kiosk. Sometimes they would try to stop you. I think about the kiosks that sell like the flat irons and the curling irons and things of that nature, right? Excuse me, can I curl your hair? Would you like your hair curled? Right? So what I want you to consider is that if no one walks past that kiosk or no one walks past that store, no one can buy that product, right? So going back to our level 1, level 2 of producing revenue, if you're at level 2, you have a brick and mortar store or you have a store in the mall or anything like that, a shopping center, you still have to attract people to your store at the end of the day. So you need traffic sources. And your traffic sources can be content, emails, SMS messages, ads, influencers, partnerships. The last job that I had, I was a store manager, and one of the things that we would regularly do in the store was host events. And they weren't just like shopping events. They were like open mic nights, and I think we did yoga one time in the store. Like we would do fun things to attract people into the store, and when they would get there they would say, oh wow, I really like this, or this is my first time here, or I came because my friend recommended this to me. There are people who are looking for things to do outside of just buying, but they still end up buying. So what you have to consider in creating an attraction strategy is, what traffic sources am I going to use? And I always like to say this is not a case of either or one being better or worse than the other. In an ideal world, you would get to a place where you use all of these. You're not going to come out the gate using all of these. For example, I've made over $1 million and I've never worked with an influencer and I've never had a partnership ever. But I do use content. I do use emails. I do use SMS. I do use ads. I did not come out the gate using all of them. I think I didn't start using SMS marketing until many months after email marketing. So just keep it in mind, but just know that you have options. So content's job is traffic. This is a very important thing that I want to drill home, because people will tell me all the time that my content is not converting, and I will ask them, what do you mean by converting? What does that mean? And they'll say my content is not producing sales. Well, I want you to remember that content's job is to drive traffic to your store. Plain and simply. Your job is to post a piece of content that is so good that someone says, I want to click their link. Or if you're using a platform like ManyChat where someone comments a keyword and you're going to send them the link privately, you want that content to be so good that they say, send me the link. I want to leave this platform and go somewhere else. Traffic's job is to give you an opportunity. So just because you got a visit to the website does not mean that you're automatically going to get a sale. It doesn't even mean that the person is capable of giving you money today, but it gives you an opportunity. It gives you an opportunity to collect their email address. It gives you an opportunity to collect their phone number so you can follow up with them and continue to sell to them. But you see how hard it would be for you to be able to sell to someone if you never even get them to the sales environment? If you're not getting very much traffic to the store to begin with, your email list is stagnant. Your SMS list is stagnant or empty, which is worse at the end of the day. So Content is not sales, traffic is not sales. Both of those things just give you an opportunity to potentially make a sale. Now, if you do a good job of driving traffic, attracting people, getting them into your world, our hope is that you turn those visitors into buyers by way of conversion strategy. So I want you to imagine you invite everybody to a party, but it's confusing or it's messy or it's awkward. Like, I always talk about how I have not been to the club in so long, and there have been so many times where I attempted to go to the club and I just turned around and left because there was too much traffic, or we got there and there was a long line, or there were two different lines and I got in the wrong line and they're like, you got to get in this other line. There's a long wait. Like, I don't want it. I'm leaving, right? Or think about if you were at a party or an event and the energy was just off. It was very awkward, or it was very messy. Think about like if there was trash everywhere or something like that, right? You would leave. And so the same thing happens for our store. People leave because it's confusing, it's awkward, it's messy. I always think about how there are brand owners who will say to me, I want to serve everyone. And so when I look at their website, it looks like they're attempting to serve everyone. They sell clothes and candles and skincare and body care and lip gloss and hair extensions. And guess what that does to a consumer? It confuses them, it frustrates them, and they leave. And so again, that analogy is just like inviting people to a website and them leaving without buying. Here are the things that you want to consider when people get into your sales environment, your website. Your website needs to be organized and up to date. They need to be able to quickly find what they're looking for. That means your website navigation needs to be as organized as possible. Your homepage needs to be as organized as possible. Things need to live in categories and collections, not just be stacked up on top of one another and mixed in amongst each other. It needs organization. People need to shop seamlessly. They need to be able to easily find exactly what they're looking for. Your product pages should work like sales associates. So if you've ever been into a store, which I know you have, somebody's going to say, do you need help with anything? Or can I help you find anything? Or what are you shopping for today? Depending on what store you're walking into. But your product pages can work the same way. Your website can work the same way. You can add the little chat bot to the bottom of your website and say, hey, just so you know, we're down here, and if you need anything, let us know. Just drop us a question in here. That could be an example of you providing customer service to someone without you literally providing customer service. Your product assortment needs to make sense. So again, trying to sell me body butter and also hair extensions and also a denim jumpsuit, you're likely not going to get me to buy all three, and you may not get me to buy either one because I'm confused. So give them a product assortment that makes them say, wow, I love everything here because it all speaks the same language or lives in the same family, versus trying to sell them everything. Because when you try to sell to everyone, you end up selling to no one. I'm sure you've heard that statement before. Your product availability should be intact. So you can't drive a bunch of traffic to a website that has products that are sold out. Even, for example, I work with a lot of boutique owners, and they will say to me, I have a lot of size smalls left, or I have a lot of size extra larges left. And what often ends up happening is they are so pressed to sell the size smalls that their whole website is nothing but size smalls, but they're still driving traffic to the store regularly. And they are not correlating the fact that you're driving a bunch of traffic to a store where the sizes are not available for the people to buy. So it would be so much better for you to just say, okay, the smalls didn't work, let me move on, versus saying, I got to sell the smalls. Because now you're just disappointing customers and driving your conversion rate into the ground, because you have people visiting the store who can't convert because you don't have product available for them to buy. The last thing is that they should be able to use their desired payment method. So I always tell the example or the story of when I first launched, I did not have PayPal on my website, and I didn't think that was a big deal. But I would consistently get people asking me, are you going to add PayPal to your website? And I would literally respond and say, oh, I don't know. I did not understand that that was them communicating that I want to buy from you, but only if you add PayPal. I just thought that they would say, oh, she doesn't have PayPal, I'm going to just enter my credit card. No, they were literally saying, I want to buy, but I don't want to enter my credit card. I want to log into PayPal where my credit card is already saved, and complete my purchase that way. I did not think it was that big of a deal, but I quickly found out that it was. And the moment that I added PayPal, I saw an increase in my sales, which was amazing to me. So small changes could make a big difference in your sales, guys. Traffic without conversion is a waste. So again, if you're driving traffic to a website that is not built to convert, if you're driving traffic to a website that only has size smalls or only has size extra larges, you're running ads, you're working with influencers, so on and so forth, and people are visiting the website because they like the product that they see, but the product is not available in the size or color that they need or want, that's a waste. You're being very wasteful with the traffic that you're getting. So you want to make sure that you are actually, in fact, doing what is necessary to convert the traffic that you are receiving. The last stage is retention, and this is all about stopping that restart cycle. So instead of you saying, every day of my life I'm looking for 17 new customers, instead you're saying, today I'm looking for 8 new customers, but I think that I also would like to get 9 of my past customers to come back today. Things like that. So if someone buys and you never follow up, you end up starting from zero every single month. There are people I've worked with or who have come to work with me, and I look at their metrics and I say, your return customer rate is so low. Why is that? And they don't know. And then I say, well, how often are you sending emails? Or are you segmenting your email list? And they say, no, I'm not. What they're translating without them knowing that that's what they're saying I am so focused on gaining new customers that I did not even realize that I should try to get people who've already purchased to buy something else. Your return customers are your most valuable customers, or your existing customers are your most valuable customers. So the things that you want to use to retain people are email automations like post-purchase flows and win-back automations and sunset automations, anything that follows up with someone who has made a purchase. Post-purchase systems altogether are extremely valuable. VIP segments. So for example, I have a customer who has spent just under $10,000 with my brand in the course of maybe 5 years. She has placed, I believe, 97 orders with my brand. And the thing about her is that she is a VIP. She could send me a message right now and say, hey, I have $250 of inventory in my cart. I was wondering if there's a discount code that I could use. I would tell her absolutely, because she is a VIP customer. I know that I can count on her to continue to spend hundreds of dollars with my brand as long as I keep her happy. I'm going to keep her happy. Plain and simply. She didn't ask for 50% off. She asked for a coupon code. I could quite frankly say, yes, here's a 15% off coupon code just for you, a 20% coupon code just for you. I can see her cart. I can see what's in there. I can see what I'm about to give her a discount on, right? So your VIP segments are like people who've spent a certain amount of money, who've shopped a certain number of times, who've purchased something a certain number of times, right? You don't talk to those people the same way that you talk to somebody who's only placed one order or someone who has never placed the order before. This is why segmenting your list is really important, because I want to be able to talk to someone who has never made a purchase in a way that says, here's why you should love us. Here's why you should shop with us. Here's what you should know about us. Versus someone who has already shopped with me, I want to say, how's that whatever you bought going? Or like, I hope you're loving your last purchase. Just wanted to send you a quick follow-up and let you know that we're doing a exclusive launch for VIP customers on Friday morning at 7 a.m. I want to talk to them in different ways because they're going to produce different amounts of money for my business. The last retention strategy is going to be a reorder strategy, and this would be more useful for brands like skincare, hair care, anything that would need to be replenished. Set that up on autopilot so that you can retain your customers. So the truth is that this feels hard, and maybe you're listening to me and you're like, wow, this is a lot. It's hard. It feels hard because it is, in fact, hard. Business is hard. I run 2 businesses, my coaching business and also my e-commerce business. They are totally separate. The sales that one gets has nothing to do with the sales that the other gets. The amount of fulfillment that needs to occur on one end looks nothing like the fulfillment on the other end. They're both hard, but hard in different ways. So it's hard for online businesses because you're doing 5 or more jobs when you've only ever done one. Most people, when they come to me, are still working a full-time job where you are a singular employee within a grand scheme of things, right? And so the problem is that going from being employee to CEO wearing multiple hats is a extra rough transition that you have to grow into. You don't start off saying, I'm the CEO and I feel confident about all of the decisions that I need to make, because you don't even know all the decisions that you need to make. But as you grow and you realize, wow, this is actually way more work, time, and effort than I thought, you actually realize, like, oh, I'm going to have to grow into this. And the truth of the matter is that most people don't, in fact, grow into this. Most people do not actually, in fact, get to a place where they have a level of confidence that truly lets them run their business. They stay comfortable on an Etsy or at Amazon or TikTok shop, which again, they all work. I am not discrediting them in any manner, but what I want you guys to know is that the $1 million that I showed you in the screenshot earlier today is $1 million through my online store. It is possible. I have never made a sale on Etsy. I've never made a sale on Amazon. I have made some sales on TikTok, but less than $10,000. It is possible if you actually buckle down and create the strategies that are necessary. So you can scale, or you can't scale, level 1 or 2. Renting the customers, yes, you can make some money on the other platforms. I'm not saying that you can't, but it's going to hit a cap at some point. Brick and mortar, you can make some real money, but it's going to hit a cap at some point. And I can give you a very brief example here. When I worked in retail, one of my last jobs was at The Limited. They're closed now, but I would have to work at my home store, which was, a few miles from my house. And then occasionally, because I was a manager, they would say, hey, we need you to go and work at the store that was maybe like 20 miles away, right? And the thing about it is, sure, they could have opened one store in the area, but instead they opened 3 stores in the area because they understood that their ability to scale was limited to geography. It was limited to how far a customer was willing to travel. So if a customer is not willing to travel the 20 miles that I had to travel to go to work at the second store is not going to make any money. Right? So there are limits, there's caps to each one of those levels. But at level 3, you can scale that infinitely. You can scale that to the moon. So the real question is not, is e-commerce hard? Because again, every type of business is hard. Every type of business that works is hard. Any person that has ever made multiple millions of dollars will tell you that it was hard. The real question is, do you want to build a business you truly own, or leave your success up to chance? And I can give you an example here. When I first started my online boutique, it was not working. That first couple months, I was like, wow, this is not going the way that I thought that it would. And so I signed up for a pop-up shop, a couple of pop-up shops, because selling in person was comfortable for me. And I knew that I could do it, and I needed the cash, obviously. So I did a couple of pop-up shops, and what I actually realized was that I was going to be leaving my success up to chance if I said, you know what, I'm just going to keep doing these pop-up shops every single weekend and hoping for the best. It's leaving it up to chance because I don't know how many people are going to show up for the pop-up shop. I don't know if it's going to be my target audience. I don't know if it's going to be people who want to buy clothes, or if it's people who are looking to buy, skincare, body care, things of that nature. I don't know. But online, yes, to a degree, you leave it up to chance, but you have so much more control through the amount of marketing that you can do, through the amount of money that you can spend on ads, through the influencers you could work with, so on and so forth. It is so much more controllable and scalable at the end of the day. So I decided I wanted to build a business that I truly own. I have not done a pop-up shop in many, many years. And not to say that I won't ever do a pop-up shop again, but I haven't had to do one because I prioritize growing online. So here's what I want you to hear. You do not have to do all 5 jobs manually. You don't have to do them all right now. You do not have to clock in and do all of these jobs every single day, okay? Because you need systems and processes that work when you don't. I love to tell people that my favorite thing to do is take a vacation. I love going to a beach or going to an island or going overseas and knowing that my business can still run because I have set up the proper systems and automations and I plan ahead. I am not being reactive, I'm being proactive and making sure that I actually, in fact, have a strategy for the near and far future. So here's the 3-step framework that I want to just go back through really quickly with you guys. Step 1 is going to be stop renting and start owning your audience, okay? I know that it's comfortable where you are already making money, but I need you to literally hear me closely when I say I have seen so many people lose their Instagram, lose their TikTok, lose their Facebook, lose their things, right? Things that they thought that they owned, only to quickly realize that they did not own a thing. That is a harsh reality to find yourself in. You don't want that, okay? So step 1 is going to be to adopt a mindset that is no longer reliant on the other platforms. Step 2 is going to be to get very familiar with your numbers, because if you don't get familiar with your numbers, you cannot actually, in fact, scale. Scaling will come from you saying, I can look at my data and look at my analytics and say, I know exactly what is working here, and I'm going to do more of that. And then step 3 is going to be building systems around everything that works. So anything that can be automated is going to be automated. Anything that can be systematized is going to be systematized. So ownership, which is step 1, is going to give you data. So even though you're on Etsy, Amazon, so on and so forth, you have data on those platforms. You know what people do and do not like. You know what content does and does not perform. That's data. Use that to your advantage. Data is going to tell you what to fix. It's also going to tell you what to keep doing more of. And then you're going to use systems to scale what works. This is the type of work or the framework that separates people who are stuck at level 1 and people who actually get to scale at level 3. So I want to go a little bit deeper into why you should stop renting and start owning and what that looks like. So Etsy currently owns your list. TikTok owns your traffic and your customer list. The pop-ups own your audience. That looks like you building someone else's asset instead of yours. That's what renting is. But owning looks like your own Shopify store, your own email list, your customer data, your traffic sources. You control who sees your products, the follow-up, the experience from start to finish. This matters because if you're renting, for example, if Etsy changes their fees, you're screwed. If TikTok bans your account, you're screwed. If the pop-up shop gets canceled, you're not going to make any money. But when you own your business and own your audience, no one can take that from you. I can download my email list and take that wherever I need to take it. At the end of the day, if I decided I didn't want to be on Shopify anymore, I didn't want to use Klaviyo anymore, I could take my customers with me. I don't want to be on any platform where I cannot take my customers with me. So most people don't know how to sell on their own platform, and that's the problem. At the end of the day, you have gotten comfortable selling on a platform that was designed for sales, but it's still difficult at the end of the day because you're competing with all the other people selling very similar things to you on a platform that was simply made for commerce. It sounds good in theory, but when you really think about it, it's like, wait a minute. I am signing up to compete with people all day long on a platform that I don't own? Crazy. Absolutely insane. So selling on Etsy is like doing one job because they bring the traffic. Now, of course, you can post your own content and run your own ads and all that stuff. But here's the kicker. When you run an ad to your Etsy shop, you're running ads to Etsy. You're not running ads to your store. I'm running ads to my store. And so what that means is not only am I targeting the people that I want to target, but I also can say, I would like to run an ad to everybody who visited this page on my website. I would like to run an ad to every single person who added this product to their cart or added to cart. I want to run an ad to anybody who initiated a checkout. I want to run an ad to anybody who spent this amount of money. I can retarget people based on everything that happened on my platform. You cannot do that on Etsy. So when you sell on Shopify, again, yes, you're doing more jobs, but you also are in control. So the solution is building a marketing and sales system that do the jobs for you. And I will tell you more about what that looks like when we get to step 3. You need to know your numbers, as I mentioned, because you can't build systems without data. Your data is literally going to tell you what it is and what it is not. But here's the problem. When you're renting customers on Etsy or TikTok, you don't have real scalable data. Now, the truth is they give you data, but they don't give you the type of data that you would have access to if you were on your own platform. So step 2 is knowing your numbers. The problem for most people is that the only number that they track is their revenue. They can come to me and say, I made $5,000 this month, but then I'm like, How many visitors did you get to your store? What was your conversion rate? What was your average order value? And they often have no idea. They say, let me check really quick. You need to track those numbers. Anybody can track revenue, but those smaller numbers, they impact how much revenue you're able to collect. So when you're selling on platforms like Etsy, you're selling through Cash App or pop-ups and things of that nature, the platform either doesn't give you data at all, or it only gives you data so you can grow on their platform. So for example, Etsy gives their sellers data, and it's not bad data, it's usable data, but they're giving it to you because they want you to use it to grow on their platform. They're not giving it to you because they want you to grow on your own platform or on someone else's platform. Cash App doesn't track a single thing but the money. That's it. It doesn't track what a customer purchased, how much money they spent, what the average order value was, the conversion rate. Doesn't track any of that. It's not usable at all. Pop-ups can't tell you how many people visited your booth, or it doesn't let you retarget all the traffic that came to the pop-up. Unusable. So as a result, you're kind of flying blind at the end of the day, no matter how much of a strategy you say that you have. And so just to take it back to my retail experience, of all these jobs that I had, they had one thing in common, and that was that every single shift started with numbers. They all started with a sales goal, what our store's conversion rate was, what they wanted the average transaction value to be versus what it was, how many units per transaction they wanted each transaction to have versus what it was for the day. And they would also tell us what products they wanted us to focus on selling that day. Every single day. We knew exactly where we stood for the day in sales, and we also knew what to be doing and what to be focusing on. And so the thing about it is, I realized that I needed to do the exact same thing for my online store. But most online store owners just check their Shopify once a week or every blue moon, and they shrug and they move on with their lives. They go back to whatever they had been doing. So these are the 3 numbers that you want to track. If you don't track anything else, just start here tracking this regularly. The first is your conversion rate, which is the percentage of your visitors who actually buy something. If this percentage is low, and by low I mean anything less than 2%, because 2 to 3% is the average conversion rate, that will mean that you need to change something or update something or make something better on your website. It means your website's not converting well. Your average order value is how much you collect per sale, and then your traffic is how many visitors you're getting to your store. Now, the thing about those metrics, and again, why I say these are the only three that I need you to pay very close attention to, is because they literally make up your revenue. So if you're only tracking the revenue without tracking the 3 metrics tied to it, you can't grow your revenue. This is how you grow your revenue. You grow your revenue by looking at the metrics. So your traffic times your conversion rate times your average order value equates to your revenue, which means that if you're able to increase either of those metrics, just one of them, it increases your revenue as long as the other metrics stay the same. If you increase all of them, you significantly increase your revenue. So it's not just the case of how do I make more money or how do I get more orders. It's how do I increase my traffic, but only if my conversion rate is decent and going to convert that traffic. And how do I get people to buy more per transaction? So if your traffic is high but your sales are low, you have a conversion problem. This is really important for you to be able to pick up on in your own business. If your traffic is high but your sales are low, you have a conversion problem. If your conversion is decent but your revenue is low, check your average order value. If your traffic is low altogether, you have an attraction problem. Focus on your marketing, plain and simply. So here's an example, because what people say to me again is how much money they've made. But I have students who make $10,000 a month, and then I have another student making $5,000 a month. But the one making $5,000 a month may have full control over their numbers, has a higher profit margin, a better conversion rate. They're working their business way better than the person making $10,000. And the person making $10,000 doesn't know just how bad of a job they're doing. Yes, you're producing revenue, but you're tanking at the same time. So let's say 2 stores made $5,000 last month. Store A had 50 visitors total, and out of 50 visitors, 5 of them resulted in a sale. That equates to a 10% conversion rate. If 5 people out of 50 buy something, that means 10% of that traffic converted into a sale. And as I mentioned, a 2 to 3% conversion rate is average. So if anything above 3, you're doing fantastic. Store B got 500 visitors to their store, same 5 sales. That's a 1% conversion rate. You got 500 people to your website, and out of 500 people, you only got 5 orders. That's a problem. Store A needs more traffic. They're converting their traffic very, very well. If they're at 10% with a low number, if they push more people to the site, their conversion rate, it may dip a little bit based on product availability, but they're going to see extreme sales growth because their website converts well. Store B needs to fix their website. There's something wrong on there. You sent 500 people to the website and only 5 people bought something. That's a problem. So again, when you don't know how to interpret your numbers, that means that you don't know what to tackle. You don't know what to focus on. You don't know what the issue is in your business, and you can't grow a business that you're not able to analyze yourself. When you sell on multiple platforms, however, what most people don't realize is that it's really like running 2 different stores, and oftentimes they have different problems. For example, this is why your Etsy sales or your pop-up sales don't look like your Shopify sales. What converts on one may not convert on the other. Your setup at your pop-up may be super duper cute, but your website organization may be absolutely trash. And that's going to impact how people convert or whether they convert at all. So step 3 is going to be to build systems. Once you're clear about the numbers and everything, we want to build a system. Systems work when you don't. That's the whole point of building a system. You want something that works when you're asleep. For example, this morning I woke up to 2 orders back to back. One came in at 6:02 a.m., I think, and the second one came in at like 6:49 or something a.m. I was asleep. I don't know where, I told my husband I don't know where those sales came from. But I'm sure I could find it in my systems. An email automation, abandoned cart email or abandoned cart text message, a ad, things that I set up and let run worked to my benefit, thank God. The problem for most people, however, is that right now every sale that you make requires you. So you got to go on TikTok live. You have to pack all your inventory up and take it to a festival, take it to a pop-up. You got to meet somebody in person so that they can hand you cash. I didn't start an online business to do that. Personally, if you stop posting, your sales stop. I didn't start a business for that either. I know that I have to post, but I didn't start a business to have to post all day, every day. So as a result, it starts to feel like another job. But the unfortunate part is that it feels like a job that doesn't guarantee a paycheck, because most people who have product-based businesses are not even paying themselves. So I want to give you an example of what a system looks like, because oftentimes when people talk about systems or think about systems, they think that it's like this really big thing, but it's simply organizing activity and behavior. So let's say, for example, on Monday, someone visits your website, they browse your store for 8 minutes, they add 3 items to their cart, and they leave, right? Some people just leave, and that's the last that you hear of them, right? Well, having a system looks like on Monday, 1 hour later, after they abandon that cart, you say, hey, you left something behind. And then on Tuesday, you send another email that says, still thinking about it? Here's what our customers love about these items. And then on Wednesday, you follow up with this third email, and you say, here's 10% off to complete your order, all of which is automated, and hopefully they go ahead and buy on Wednesday evening. Here's the thing I want you to know. My abandoned cart sequence, this will be an example of an abandoned cart flow or automation. My abandoned cart sequence has 7 emails in it, which means that I am following up with people 7 times to try to get a purchase. I am not saying to myself, oh, they didn't buy, they left it behind, I wonder what went wrong. I'm just going to follow up with you. I don't know what went wrong. I have no idea. But what I do know is that I can follow up with you, and that's exactly what I'm going to do, and that's exactly what you should do. Because when you set these up, you don't do anything. The system does the work. So if I send an email out today at 5 p.m., and let's say I get 150 people who come to my website and 75 of them add something to their cart, but only 7 of them purchase, I know that the remaining, what would that be? 60 something? I don't know the math. The remaining 60 something, they're going to get an abandoned cart email that I don't have to send manually. I know that they're going to see my ads that say, hey, don't forget about this thing that you left behind, that I don't have to touch. I just set it up and let it run and do the work. And 9 times out of 10, I'm going to get purchases. I'm going to recover money that was already on the table. So again, just to define a system very simply, it is something that continues to function when you're not actively touching it. So for example, I often ask people, tell me about your systems right now. And what they confuse it with is like a schedule. They say, well, right now I post every day at 11 a.m. Posting is an action, okay? Here's how you know if you have a system or not. If you cannot answer the question of what happens after they see that post, you don't have a system. So for example, I know that if I post something, 9 times out of 10, you're going to see an ad. Whether you went to my website or not, doesn't matter. You're going to see an ad, period. I know what's in the ad. I know what it says. I know whether or not there is a coupon code. I know whether or not I'm offering free shipping. I know what I set up, and I know the order in which an action should occur within my business, again, without me having to touch it. So I want to give you an example of a student in my program who is literally seeing systems work on her behalf, right? So this is my student, Ambra. She joined our program in September of 2025. She got laid off from her job. You can see the first line here says, I've been MIA recently because I started a new full-time job after being laid off. She got laid off, I think, in September, right at the beginning of September, joined the program at the end of September. She got a job, and she shared this on January 25th. She was at $17,047.29. And I love this post because she says, as of January, I have had less time for my business overall, less time to watch the modules and catch the live calls, less time to write and schedule emails, post on social media, and make new creatives for my ads. But since joining the program, even doing what I consider to be the bare minimum makes a big impact. This is my January so far. And it doesn't include some of the money that she had made elsewhere. And she says, this is my third highest revenue month. The first and second highest months happened right after joining e-commerce profit plan. This is not a case of she read an ebook or she watched a webinar or, something magically changed in her understanding. Well, something I guess did change magically in her understanding. But the point is that she set up systems that allowed her business to work without her having to touch it. The ads, the emails, the automations, she took the time to build them out, and they're working on her behalf while she's at work. So I want to give you a glimpse of the types of systems that you need. These all need to work together. So email and SMS automations. You need abandoned cart, browse abandonment, post-purchase, win-back, website optimization, product pages, checkout payment options, trust signals, inventory planning and management based on data, not emotion. We're not offering any products based on gut instinct alone. Use your data. And then lastly, content strategy. But your content needs to be tied to your actual business goals, not just your desire to show up. So this is how you stop doing 5 jobs manually and you start owning a business that scales, because Amber is a prime example of a business that is scaling without her having to touch it all day, every day. So just to recap, our 3-step process here. Step 1 is going to be stop renting and start owning. Step 2 is going to be know your numbers. And step 3 is going to be to build your systems. So here's what could happen from this point on. You could either try this alone, spend the next 6 months guessing, the next year guessing. I don't know how long you guys have been in business, but oftentimes when people finally make it to me, they've been in business for a few years and they finally say to themselves, wow, I simply didn't know what I didn't know, and I can't believe I went this long not knowing it. You can waste some more money on tools and apps and service providers, so on and so forth, and simply you could stay stuck doing everything manually. Or you could do this with us. You will have your first system live in 30 days because we don't play about having systems. You'll have a team to guide you through every single step of what needs to be done, and you'll actually own a business that scales. So the difference is having a plan and someone to hold you accountable. I always say that I wish I had a me when I first started my business, because I would have made that $1 million so much faster. I am a highly disciplined, extremely determined person. My only mistake was that I lacked data, and I lacked understanding of what I needed to do, and I lacked the understanding of how to use my data very early on in my business. But I quickly learned, and I quickly started to grow. So as a result of not having that accountability or not having the answers to what you should and should not be doing, it ends up costing you wasted time, wasted money, another year renting customers on somebody else's platform. And I don't want that for you. So I want to help you fix this, okay? So business is significantly easier when you have a plan, when you have accountability, when you have support, and also when you have somebody who has done this before. So I want to introduce you to my program, E-Commerce Profit Plan. E-Commerce Profit Plan is a 12-month retail operating system for online brands. I have literally taken everything that I learned from my retail sales experience and my e-commerce experience, married them together into a comprehensive program that walks you through everything that you need to do in the order that you need to do it to scale your business. We do not just throw a bunch of random information to you. This is not information that you will easily find on somebody's Instagram somewhere. This is information based on my actual lived experience working for multi-million and billion-dollar brands, combined with my running my own million-dollar brand, as well as helping over 1,700 business owners to grow their businesses. We help you to diagnose any issues that exist in your business first and foremost, and then we help you to rebuild or build in the right order. So I want to tell you a little bit about some of our students. I briefly shared Ambra with you guys earlier. This was her on November 8th. She said, I sent an email last night and woke up this morning, saw over $500 in sales. And she encouraged the rest of the group to send those emails, because I don't know about y'all, but I never worked a job where I made $500 in a shift. So to go to sleep and wake up the next morning with $500 is amazing, right? It's unbelievable when that's not the norm for you. Tamara, she messaged me on November 28th. She said, FYI, I just hit $10,000 for quarter 4, and Black Friday technically just started 56 minutes ago. And she told me to brag, as you guys can see. But Tamara actually started her business in February of 2025. She joined the program in April of 2025. And by November, she had her first $10,000, or she hit $10,000 for the quarter at the end of November, but she actually ended Q4 with over $20,000 in sales. December ended up being her first 5-figure month. And then this is another client, I believe this is Kimberly. She mentioned that this weekend I hit a huge milestone, $100,000 in sales for 2025. I've been in business for a little under 2 years, and it has truly been a journey. Balancing full-time career and running a boutique hasn't always been easy, but I keep pushing. I've made mistakes along the way, yet each one has been a learning opportunity. And she said that there's still so much to do, and she is committed to continuing to grow and soak up all that she can inside of the program. So I want to tell you what our students' results look like in summary from 2025. As I've mentioned, we are very big on data. Not only are students collecting and tracking their data, but we also track it too, because we want to be able to help them where they need the help. So if we can see a decline in their individual numbers, we know where to help them. If they don't share it with us, we don't know where they need that support, right? So here's the thing. None of these people are outliers. There is nobody in our program who is an influencer. There is nobody in our program who is somebody who has hundreds of thousands of followers. These are regular women. Most of them have a job still. They are moms, they are wives, regular people, okay? So for 2025, the average revenue for the entire year was $63,148.46. The student with the highest amount of revenue made $641,601.15 in 2025. The average order value was $48.32. The maximum average order value, or the highest amongst the student, was $143. And I want you to know that the person who made $641,000 is not the same person who made $143 per order. And then the average email list size was 3,315 people. The highest email list was 22,000. And here's the kicker. Again, the person who made $641,000 is not the person with 22,000 email subscribers. In fact, she just started using emails last year consistently. She was already doing pretty well in business, but last year was the first time where she had systems that actually worked while she was on the beach. And there's evidence of that inside of our community, where she would always share pictures of herself on the beach while her emails were working for her. Now, if you want a summary of what they sell, here you go. So 25.7% of our students sell clothing, 8.6% sell jewelry, 17.1% sell an accessory of some sort, 14.3% are other 8.6% sell beauty products, but as you can see, we have shoes, we also have home goods, we also have handmade items, kids and baby products, so on and so forth. And then as far as where they are selling, we do have Etsy sellers in here. So again, I'm not saying that they don't work. Our goal is to help you make more money on your platform. So as you can see, 47.5% of their sales are coming from Shopify, which is great. That is what we like to see. 22.5% are coming from in-person sales, markets, pop-up shops, festivals, and things of that nature. Whatever that little small blue pie is Etsy. 10% is coming from live selling, and then everything else is everything else. All right, and then here is what happened in January. So currently it is February the 19th. Today, as I'm recording this, is February 19th. This was our January results for our students. This is from 28 submissions. Every student didn't submit their numbers. As you can see in the lowest column, we did have, I think, 2 new students, so they didn't make any revenue, but they came in right at the end of January, so they were very honest in what their numbers look like. But the average revenue for January was $5,034.90 for the month, which is great. Most people who come into our program are making less than $1,000 when they come into the program, so average was $5,000. The highest amount of revenue from an individual student was $36,818 in January. The average number of orders produced was 75 orders. The maximum number of orders was 603. And then the average order value was $48.47. The maximum average order value was $123. And then here is a summary of where their traffic came from in January. So 33.3% came from direct. This would be like their emails, somebody typing in their URL directly, things of that nature. 14.8% came from email. 14.8% came from organic social, Facebook. And then 18.5% came from ads. We are ads people. I teach ads. I run my own ads. I've always run my own ads, and you will learn how to run your own ads as well inside of the program. So here is what $2,500 might look like in your business. The program is $2,500. Again, it is for 12 months of access, 12 months of coaching access. If you have a $50 average order value, that equates to 50 orders. Again, remembering that our average student is seeing 75 orders a month, and they're making on average over $5,000 in sales. If your average order value is $75, you only need 34 orders to cover the investment. If you are sitting at a $100 average order value, that is 25 orders that you need to cover the $2,500 investment. So we're really big on math. We also want you to make your investment back, so we will help you make your investment back. Here is what you will have in 90 days. So your first email flows live and converting, your abandoned cart, your welcome series, your post-purchase, a store optimized for conversions, product pages, checkout page, upsells, a 90-day sales plan you're actually executing, not guessing. And then you're going to have live weekly coaching calls with myself and my team. There are 2 other coaches inside the program, one for marketing and the other for website design and optimization. And then lastly, you'll have accountability from a community of store owners who are doing the same work, many of them who have been in our community for years. Our students stay because it is that good. We keep everything updated. We are constantly giving them new resources and just simply better ways to do business and make money faster. So our program is all about implementation, not giving you a bunch of information. Here's exactly what we're going to build together during your time inside the program. So part 1 of your program experience is foundation and visibility. We focus on brand clarity first, which is who you serve, what you sell, and why they should care. Then we go into visibility strategy, how to actually get people to your store. And then third, lead generation, which is how do you grow your email list, your text list, and things of that nature through pop-ups, lead magnets, email capture, landing pages, so on and so forth. Part 2 is conversion and sales. This is where you learn how to better optimize your store, your product pages, and things of that nature, your checkout, your email flows, abandoned cart, welcome series, post-purchase, upselling and cross-selling strategy, how do you increase your average order value. And then part 3 is retention and growth. This is customer segmentation, VIPs, repeat buyers, one-time purchasers, win-back campaigns, basically how do you get people back who have purchased but haven't purchased in a while. And then lastly, 90-day sales revenue planning. So we prioritize sales goals. Everybody needs a goal, no matter how big or small it is, and then we help you create a plan to meet that goal. So, in case you need a few other words of encouragement, we actually took the time to ask our real students what they would say to you guys if you are considering joining the program. So, Deashanta said, if you're on the fence, if you are on the fence about if the investment to join EPP is worth it for your business, here's a small piece of my experience that may help justify it. After my intake call and receiving my call notes, I implemented one small thing that Jance told me she thought I should do and made just over $1,700 that week. So it's definitely worth it. Now remember, the program is $2,500. Her first week after her intake call, she made just over $1,700 from one singular thing. This is before she had even gone through the program. She hadn't even really touched the curriculum just yet at this point. So she was basically on track to break even on her investment by week 2 of the program. Ambra, again, here's what she shared. So she says, if you are thinking about joining, here's some perspective from someone who has tried and failed to build an e-commerce business 6 times over the course of 8 years. I have earned more revenue in the 3 months since joining this program than I have in all of my previous businesses combined. That's $60,000 in revenue in just 3 months. I can't wait to see what's in store for next year. And we are currently in next year now. And I just showed you guys her numbers for January. I think she actually ended January with $29,000 in sales. She made $60,000 in 3 months, October, November, December, at the end of 2025. So she is going to kill it in 2026. All right. And then we have Nana. So I won't read all of Nana's, but she does mention that she has a 9-to-5 engineering job. So obviously she is working. She says, yes, I was skeptical at first as I have already spent thousands on other coaching programs with no results. And she said this was her last resort. She said, when I joined, I immediately felt at home. Jance has a great team. And she says, I have sold more inventory than I ever had in all 8 years in my business. I renewed after my quarterly to a biannual subscription because I believe I still need guidance and will reach my business goals in 2026. So as I mentioned, our students love to come back. They don't like to leave. They like to stay. Okay. All right, and then here we have Janine. So Janine said that, I won't read all of it, but basically the gist is that she implemented systems. She said that what once felt intimidating, like email marketing, is now a strength. I confidently run my emails, SMS, and push notifications and use them strategically to support my live selling business. And she said, I had my best Black Friday ever, bringing in just over $20,000 by applying what I learned about campaigns, visuals, and email marketing. She made over $20,000 in a weekend from implementing campaigns, visuals, and or updating her visuals and her email marketing. So let's do the math on the investment. Amber made $60,000 in her first 3 months. Her investment, $2,500. That means that she had a 23x return on her investment in just 90 days. Janine made $20,000 in one Black Friday weekend. Same investment. Her return on investment was 7 times the investment in just 3 days of selling. So our average student, again, made $5,034 just last month alone. And January is known to be the slowest month of the year. So if they're averaging $5,000 in the slowest month in retail and sales at the end of the day, imagine how much they're going to grow month over month for the rest of the year. So the real question isn't, can I afford $2,500? It's really, how much are you already planning to spend this year on Shopify, ads, email platforms, pop-up booths, photo shoots, and inventory that isn't moving without a system to make it work? So here are your investment options. There are actually 3. The first is obviously pay in full. And with the pay in full options, you have the option of Afterpay, Klarna, and Affirm as well. And then we have our first payment plan, which is 5 monthly payments of $500. These payments come out every single 30 days. And then the third payment option is a deposit of $300 and then 8 monthly payments of $275, all of which equate to $2,500. There's flexibility in there if you need the flexibility. There is a singular perk for paying in full. You get a 60-minute strategy call with me that you can book anytime throughout your enrollment, but same investment across the board. Just to recap some of the things that you're going to get the full system for attraction, conversion, and retention, live weekly coaching with myself and my team, tools, templates, and done with you implementation for basically every part of your business. And essentially, we're going to help you build a business that works while you sleep. So one last thing is our brand new tool. It's called the Profit Planner. So I spent an entire month creating a tool that has multiple tools inside of it. Things like pricing calculators, discount impact tools, open to buy planners, revenue projections, average order value strategy builders, 30 to 90 day sales planners, and a bunch of other things in there. And it continues to grow. We wanted to create something that would allow our students to act faster, make decisions quicker and more strategically. And it has been a blast watching everybody utilize it. So you get access to this as well inside of the program. And then lastly, you get the bonus of our 2-day marketing and sales bootcamp. So as I mentioned at the beginning, we did this bootcamp last month. We literally spent 8 hours talking about marketing sales across 2 days. And you're going to get access to this where I gave advice to help you quickly identify the issues in your business, diagnose the problems, and then build a real marketing strategy that feeds your sales pipeline to your actual store. So you get that as a bonus. So, of course, if you have any questions about the program, any questions about the presentation at all, feel free to reach out to me. I did not put my Instagram or anything on this slide, but my Instagram is just my name, Jance Charté, or you can send me a message on the Boutique Academy's Instagram. And if you don't want to do that, you can also send me an email if you have any questions, if you want to chat about anything about the program or anything in the presentation. I would love to hear from you guys. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope it was insightful. I hope it gave you some clarity, and I hope it also gave you some confidence in making more sales through your actual online store. So thank you again for tuning in, and I will chat with you all later.